When we duplicated these objects in an array, they got created as something called an instance. And an instance is an object that is identical to another object. And we can illustrate that by selecting any one of these and going to the Modify panel and playing around with the parameters. If I change the length, for example, we'll get wider stairs. Each one of those is a separate object, but they're all instanced. So they're all shared the same parameters. I'll set that back to 4 feet, 4 and apostrophe, and enter. Let's also look at cloning objects outside of the array tool, because we can duplicate any object and choose to either make it a unique copy or a shared instance. I want to make some sides to my staircase here. Go to the Create panel, and in Geometry Standard Primitives, just draw out a box. Select the Box tool, and in the top view, click and drag to set the footprint, and then drag up to set the height, and then click. Now we want to change these parameters here. As long as the object is still selected, we can change the parameters directly here in the Create panel. But I usually go over to the Modify panel just to save myself some confusion. Let's set the length here, and that's going to be 4 inches. Type in a 4, and then press the Tab key. Go to the Width field. And for the width, let's make it 18 inches and press Tab. And then the height, we're going to make it pretty tall because it has to be the same height as all of the stairs. And I've already done this, so I know it's going to be 23 feet and 6 inches. So 23 apostrophe 6, and then a quote sign or double quote. 23.5 feet. And now it's tall enough. Let's orient it. We'll grab the Rotate tool and do this in the front viewport. We want to just turn that so that it's lined up. Maybe make the viewport larger with Alt-W. And then position. Let's switch over to the Move tool, which is the W key. Just want to position this so that the side, or the top or bottom here, rather, is going to be actually below the floor. We're going to later chop this off and kind of make it pretty, but for now we just want to position it there so that it's completely below the floor. And then rotate it a bit. You can eyeball that. If you want more precise control over any one of the transforms, then you can go into the transform type-in area down here and either enter it in or play with the spinner values. I'm giving it a value of about -53.4, something like that. So now we've got that positioned in at least 2 axes. Let's go to the top view with Alt-W, and we want to move it towards the stair steps. We want this to line up with our stairs, so for the Y position, I'll give it a value of 2 feet and 2 inches exactly. All right, so that's our original box that's a side for the stairs, and we want to make a duplicate of that. And to make a clone, you can do it in 2 ways. Either use a menu or use an interactive transformation. The menu is under Edit, Clone. And when you do this, you get the Clone Options dialog, in which you can choose Copy, Instance, or Reference and give it a name. But we can also interactively clone. So let's look at that. I'm going to cancel out of this dialog. And to interactively clone, choose a transform tool such as the Move tool. Hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and then change the position of the object. So just click and drag. So Shift drag is clone. Now we can choose to make a copy, instance, or reference. A copy has no connection to the other object. If we edit one, it will not affect the other. An instance is 2 identical objects. And a reference is a sort of copy in which some of the properties are shared. If you make a reference, then the new object can have other effects stacked on top of it, but it will also change if you adjust the original object. Instance is the simple one. Go ahead and click OK. And now we've got another instance, another clone. I just want to position that and line it up. I've got the Move tool selected and set its Y position to +2 feet and 2 inches. And now it's lined up perfectly. If we need to make changes to these properties here, we can select either one of them and then go in and change things like the length and width and so on. I'll undo that with Control Z. All right, that's how you make clones. Clones and instances are really super useful, especially if you have many identical objects. Don't make a lot of copies, but instead use instancing because you can change all the copies simultaneously.